January 7th, 2023. Well, I guess we finally wrapped it up here. We finally got the selection of the Speaker of the House done. What should have been able to have been accomplished, I thought, fairly quickly at the early in the week, finally has gotten accomplished. And in the but so as I'd said in my previous video, I cannot understand exactly what all the struggle was about, but apparently this was being used primarily to impose a set of rules that was particularly the more, let's say, conservative elements the caucus wanted. I don't know to what degree these were necessary. Some of them are procedural things and kind of make some sense, like, give people enough time to read the bills. I guess 3 days worth of time rather than just being hit at the last minute. And there's a lot of other things involved, and some of which are kind of just having votes on certain things. We can get into that in a little bit, but at least I think we can all be glad it's over, that part of it. At any rate, if you like these videos, please give me a like. It should help with the algorithm, and subscriptions are appreciated. And if you're subscribed, you can click the bell for notifications. So, yeah, I thought Hakeem Jeffries gave a rather demagogic speech of introduction. I mean, like he's running for something or whatever. I mean, and flailing around about all kind of past wrongs that he sees that the Republicans have done and everything else seems a little bit out of place in a situation like that. Rather. So I'm sure we're going to have a very confrontational relationship there. In the final analysis, we had to go through one more vote in the evening. I don't know why that was necessary. I guess some of the people, the final six that really were opposed to McCarthy, finally gave in the final vote and all voted present, which lowered the threshold, I think, to 214 votes. You had to beat 214 to win, and I think you had to have at least 214 to win, excuse me, and he got 216. So with Matt Gaetz and Bobart and Briggs and all these people finally voting present, I guess kind of throwing in the towel. I don't understand why there was any resistance at all this evening, because I mean they'd already agreed to everything in the rules that they wanted, I believe. Apparently quite an extensive amount of things. We'll see what it does. It seems like there's going to be a lot of focus in it on offering a balanced budget. I don't know how that's going to work. I mean, or is our definition of balanced not exactly what I would mean by balanced? I'd also saw somebody making a comment that would be what the fiscal 2022 budget was. And I don't know if that is 2022 adjusted for inflation or whether that's flat out then year dollars. Well, that's a little technical stuff, but we'll see what ends up happening. I guess that's that. I mean, we'll finally get on with business here. I guess that's the final stage of this of the whole election process. It's actually take office, I guess we could say that the thing ended up with, well, we got the House of Representatives and we got Twitter. Lost ground in the Senate, but Sinema left the Democrat Party caucus and probably will stay with her position on maintaining the filibuster, so that should still be the case in the Senate, even though we're only one shy vote away from losing that issue. So we'll have to see what happens on that. But I think, well, I've always addressed these issues before in previous videos. So at any rate, meanwhile, of course, on other topics, Biden has now come up with this new idea, which is basically like creating an app so that the would-be illegal immigrants can apply for asylum if they're in Mexico, and then I guess be told when to come to a point of entry, which still seems like they're going through Mexico to get in here, helping out all the cartels and stuff. I mean, because they'll still have to pay them money to get through, I guess. So I don't know. One thing about the app that I think is kind of funny, I know, is has he heard of a VPN? I mean, how do they know they're in Mexico? If they use a VPN and perhaps, you know, well, if even on a phone, I guess you could go on a Wi-Fi on a computer and use a VPN to say you're in Mexico and apply from wherever you're coming from, which seems like it would even open it up a little bit more to the whole wide world. I don't know how that's going to work. I suppose it'll be a court challenge also. My thought is, well, that if you're going to do that, why don't we run it through an immigration judge before they are told to come in, and that way they won't have to come unless they're going to actually be given asylum. And I would think the criteria for asylum ought to be a little stricter. We'll see what happens. I mean, that's still a little bit new to see how it's going to be, and we'll just have to kind of, you know, see what happens with that. It looks like it's still not really dealing up with a real border security issue. But it looks like that the overflow of illegal immigrants, which are now being shipped into a lot of the liberal cities, the mayors are getting upset. And since he's apparently planning on running for re-election at the age of, 82, that'll be very interesting to see how that all pans out. And, we'll just have to see how that is. And one other thing, I guess we'll hit on the Ukraine war. As of this recording, I understand that that Putin has declared a temporary truce for Eastern Orthodox Christmas because they use the old calendar, which is way out of date, and so I think that that truce will be over with by, I think it's 4 o'clock tomorrow. I think Central Time. I believe that's right. Well, but anyway, somewhere around then. So I think, and so we'll see how that goes. I'm not sure if it's being obeyed by anybody. The Ukrainians rejected it, of course, and well, I suppose if they start shooting, the Russians will be shooting back. So maybe that just means no significant offensives will be launched during that period or whatever. But another thing, I've been seeing all these, reports. Of course, there was that one thing where the Ukrainians managed to bomb a kind of a makeshift barracks and killed a variety of Russian troops. Something like 89 are reported by the Russians, and the Ukrainians estimate 400 or something like that. Of course, I don't know how they would know how many were in there. I mean, it depends on how many were actually in there when the missiles hit. Apparently, the defense system actually shot down 2 of the 6 HIMARS, and four of them got through, which I don't know whether that's kind of interesting there. And on the other hand, there's all kind of wild claims. I did see a video, though, on a channel called History Legends, who does some pretty good, insightful coverage of this subject. And I guess he gets on this Telegram app that they use a lot over in that part of the world. I think both the Russians and Ukrainians both like it. It's an encrypted app, and I guess it's a way to try to dodge the authorities when you make politically incorrect statements over there. Because over there, politically incorrect, they have a different idea of what cancellation might mean than what we think it is. But anyhow, it looks like that according to his reporting, which has got pictures of one taken by various troops, and I guess he's using geolocation, which I guess he's getting from, I don't know, some kind of metadata that's in the pictures. He's claiming that anyhow. He seems to show that in fact what's happening is that the Russians are actually enveloping Bakhmut rather than doing a frontal assault. And all this talk about human wave attacks and massive Russian casualties and people taking shelter behind the bodies of their fallen comrades is perhaps a little bit overstated. It is clear the casualties are high on both sides, and there's a lot of shrapnel injuries from all the artillery. I think that's also clear, I'm sure. Also shock from overpressure and explosions. Pretty nasty stuff. The weather, of course, horrible. It's getting colder. And of course, as it gets colder, when the ground gets good and hard, we'll see whether there's any truth to this talk about a coming Russian offensive, or is that all bluster. We'll just have to see, and how that all pans out. I guess there's talk of new weapons for the Ukrainians. Some French light tanks are going to be provided. I think it's called an AMX-10. It's a tank though on wheels, not on treads. And there's a lot of talk that the U.S. is going to provide Bradley fighting vehicles to the Ukrainians. So we'll have to wait and see on that too. That has, I don't believe it's been decided yet. But anyway, so that's kind of my update for today. I'm going to wrap this up for now. As always, I will point out that I've been a little active on Twitter, maybe a little caustic at times, but I really was kind of appalled at this stretched out speaker selection. But I still don't know why. Well, maybe it did need to be done. There's certainly some good things in the new rules, and maybe some things we'll just have to see how they work out. I get the feeling that this is going to be a very difficult Congress to get anything done in. You have a very hostile minority in the Democrat Party led by Hakeem Jeffries, who is definitely not exactly a magnanimous loser, and factions in the Republican Party that probably don't want to do business as usual or any business maybe, and the determination to pass a bunch of bills that almost certainly will go to the Senate and die. So what all happens when things like the debt limit comes up will be really interesting to see. Probably the first opportunity to get something seriously done by attaching things to that, like some reforms to immigration, would be one thing I would suggest and have been. So at any rate, you can follow me on a day-to-day what I say on Twitter, and I'll be posting this on Rumble as well, and that'll be all for now.